Calvin Carter stood outside his own car dealership, studying the enormous turquoise and silver sign that displayed the names of its 8 locations, a legacy inherited from his father. Yet he hadn't stepped into this very showroom in over a year. Reports from his regional supervisor had been mixed. Sales were steady, but customer complaints had surged unexpectedly. Something was awry. Adjusting the disguise in the rear-view mirror of a parked vehicle, he noted his thick beard, his inexpensive glasses, and the scuffed baseball cap that hid his normally sharp features. Instead of the polished CEO known for his custom-tailored suits, he now wore an old denim jacket over a faded tee. With so many branches to oversee, he had long relied on his managers to run things seamlessly. But perhaps that had now proven to be a mistake. Taking a measured breath, Calvin pushed open the door into the bright showroom, a space redolent of new leather and the faint aroma of freshly brewed coffee, with the usual buzz of sales chatter circulating in the air. His plan was straightforward. Pose as a customer, listen carefully, observe keenly, and uncover what was really happening behind the scenes. A salesman in his early 30s, tall, with neatly styled dark hair, approached him with an overly friendly grin. The name tag on his crisp polo read, "Trevor." "Hey there. Looking for a new ride today?" Trevor asked, his tone rehearsed like a practiced pitch. "Just browsing," Calvin replied casually, his mind drifting toward a sturdy truck, something reliable. Trevor's smile broadened. "Well, you've come to the right place. Check out this beauty. See that matte black pickup? It's got a brand new engine, installed just last week. Runs like a dream." A twist of disquiet churned in Calvin's stomach. He knew that truck well. It hadn't received a new engine. In fact, he recalled the last maintenance report. The truck had languished on the lot for months, with nothing more than a routine oil change. Keeping his expression neutral, Calvin asked, "A new engine, huh? That sounds like quite an upgrade." "Oh, absolutely," Trevor nodded confidently. "The previous owner wrecked it, so we installed a fresh one. That's why the price is a bit steeper, but believe me, it's entirely worth it." Calvin's jaw clenched. This wasn't merely stretching the truth. It was a blatant falsehood. Peddling a used car with deceptive claims could land them in serious legal trouble. Before Calvin could press further, a woman's voice interjected from behind him. "That's not right," the voice said. Turning, Calvin saw a young woman dressed in a dealership polo, her expression tense. Her badge read, "Sarah." Trevor's face darkened as he shot her a sharp look. "Stay out of this, Sarah," he snapped. Sarah folded her arms and said coolly, "I'm just saying, the engine wasn't replaced. We only did some minor tune-ups. There's no way to fool a customer with that story." "Why don't you file some paperwork instead?" Trevor retorted sharply, dismissing her. "I've got this under control." Sarah's lips thinned into a tight line as she glanced briefly at Calvin and then back at Trevor before turning and walking away. Calvin exhaled slowly, anger simmering beneath his calm facade. Needing more evidence before deciding to reveal his true identity, he feigned curiosity. "What sort of warranty comes with this truck?" Trevor didn't miss a beat. "Oh, you get full coverage for a year, parts and labor included, at no extra cost." It was another deception. The dealership policy only offered a 30-day warranty with several conditions. Forced to smile, Calvin replied, "Sounds like a fantastic deal," though his tone dripped with irony. Trevor clapped him on the shoulder. That's what I'm talking about. Let's get you inside. Start the paperwork. As Trevor led Calvin further into the showroom, Calvin's eyes roamed the space. Sarah sat at the reception desk, furiously typing, while still shaking her head. Another salesman, a graying gentleman, chatting comfortably with a customer, mingled nearby, and a manager wearing a distinctively colored blazer lounged in his office, absorbed in his phone. Calvin's thoughts raced. If Trevor could lie so brazenly, how many customers had been misled? And why was the manager oblivious to these tactics? Trevor guided him into a small office. On the wall hung a framed image of a sleek sports car, and a stack of contracts dominated the desk. Trevor grabbed a pen and tapped the paper confidently. If we can get your signature today, I might knock a few $100s off the price. But you need to decide quickly. Calvin leaned back in the chair. And what if I need time to think it over? Trevor's smile faltered. Well, we have other interested buyers. If you wait too long, that truck might be gone. It was a clear manipulation tactic. Calvin crossed his arms. I think I'll take my chances. Trevor let out an exasperated sigh. Look, I'm genuinely trying to get you the best deal here. You don't want to miss out. Silence stretched between them for a moment before Calvin stood up. I believe I've seen enough, he declared. Trevor's expression shifted from confidence to alarm. What do you mean? He stammered. Calvin removed his cap, took off his glasses, and ran a hand through his hair. I own this dealership, he said steadily, and I just caught you misleading a customer again and again. Trevor's face paled, his previous bravado evaporating as Calvin turned toward the office doorway. Get the manager in here now. Trevor's composure crumbled. His eyes darted around as he scrambled for an excuse. Meanwhile, Calvin locked eyes with the manager, a broad-shouldered man in his early 40s, who had been nonchalantly scrolling on his tablet. Upon noticing the commotion, the manager straightened up and followed Calvin, his face betraying sudden concern. Inside a glass-walled office overlooking the showroom, Trevor trailed behind as the door shut. The manager, whose tone was cautious, began, I wasn't expecting you today, Mr. Carter. Calvin studied him for a beat before replying, I wasn't expecting to be here either, but I had a feeling something was off. Trevor just lied about a used truck having a brand new engine, then rushed me into signing a deal based on that false information. The manager's brow furrowed. That's unacceptable, Trevor. What do you have to say? Trevor inhaled sharply. It's just sales talk. Customers expect a bit of embellishment. It's how we close deals. Calvin's expression hardened. That isn't sales talk. That's fraud. Trevor's mouth opened briefly, then closed again. He shifted uncomfortably in his chair as Calvin addressed the manager. How often does this happen? The manager hesitated and then cleared his throat. I trust my team to treat customers professionally. If mistakes were made, I would handle them. Calvin's eyes narrowed. Mistakes? This is deliberate deception, and judging by your reaction, I doubt this is the first time you've ignored it. The manager exhaled slowly. I won't claim every deal here is perfect, but we do what we must to meet our targets. Calvin's jaw tightened. You really think that justifies lying? Trevor's attempt to interject was met with a cold stare from Calvin. Turning back to the manager, Calvin continued, "Why is this dealership relying on deception to hit its numbers? Have you encouraged this or simply turned a blind eye?" The manager's lips pressed into a thin line. "I wouldn't say I encourage it, but I don't micromanage. My sales team knows what's expected." Calvin's stomach twisted. "That's a polite way of admitting you look the other way. While it happens," he exhaled sharply, "this isn't about an isolated incident. It's about a culture of dishonesty. And if employees fear speaking up about the truth, then I've failed as an owner." A flicker of unease crossed the manager's face, but Calvin wasn't finished. "I noticed something else, too." He paused. Sarah tried to stop this lie before it went too far, and Trevor shut her down. It's clear she's seen this before. Why wasn't she empowered to do what's right? The manager sighed, rubbing his temple. "Sarah has good instincts, but she doesn't fully grasp how the business works." Calvin's jaw clenched. "She knows more than you do. If she's the only one pushing back against these dishonest tactics, then your leadership is broken." Trevor scoffed quietly, but Calvin ignored him. The room fell into heavy silence. Finally, Calvin spoke in a final, resolute tone. "This stops today. No more lies, no more pressure tactics. If a car has issues, we disclose them truthfully. If a warranty covers only a month, we state that plainly. And if a salesperson can't meet their quotas honestly, they have no place here." The manager's expression turned somber as he responded, "I expect every sale to be made with integrity. I trust my team, but if they act against that, I'll address it." Calvin's eyes narrowed. "I want a complete action plan on my desk by tomorrow. A full review of every deal closed in the past 6 months, customer complaints, and employee feedback. And I want you to bring Sarah into my office before the day ends." The manager nodded reluctantly. "Yes, Mr. Carter." Calvin turned to Trevor. "As for you, you're suspended. I'm not sure if there's room for you here after today." Trevor's face went pale, his confidence now a distant memory. Calvin watched him leave, then addressed the manager. "Fix this, or I will. There's no room for excuses in my dealership." Without waiting for a response, he strode out of the office toward Sarah at the reception desk. She looked up, cautious. "Come with me," he said. Sarah hesitated briefly, then rose and followed him into a quieter office. Once seated across from him, Calvin studied her intently. "How long have you been with us?" "Almost a year," she answered softly. "And how many times have you witnessed deceptive sales tactics like Trevor's?" She hesitated, then replied carefully, "More times than I can count." Customers often return angry when they find out they were misled. Some even threaten to report it, but the manager just smooths it over with small discounts or free service appointments. Calvin's eyes hardened further. "That's worse than a mistake. It's a system that deliberately hides its faults. Tell me, Sarah, why did you speak up today?" She blinked, surprised at the question, then said quietly, "Because it was wrong. Customers deserve honesty." Calvin leaned forward. "I need people like you. Employees who care about how we do business. I'm making changes. This dealership will be rebuilt with integrity, and you'll be part of that process." Sarah's eyes widened. "What do you need me to do?" "Keep doing what you did today. Speak up if something's wrong, and if anyone pressures you into silence, come straight to me," Calvin instructed firmly, Sarah nodded, determination glimmering in her eyes. I understand. Calvin then strode back out into the main showroom. His presence alone shifted the atmosphere. Employees glanced up from their tasks, some pretending to be busy, others watching him with uncertainty. He wasn't firing everyone immediately, but he was making it abundantly clear that underhanded sales tactics were no longer acceptable. Standing at the center of the showroom floor, Calvin cleared his throat. I know some of you are wondering why I'm here, he began, his eyes scanning the room. By now, most of you realize I didn't come by chance. I'm here because I've discovered serious issues with the way this dealership is being run. The pressure tactics, the misleading pitches. This stops now. A heavy silence fell. Some employees looked down. Others exchanged nervous glances. I built this business with my father, and it carries my name. I refuse to let it be known for cutting corners and deceiving customers. He paused, letting his words settle. I expect a full review of every deal from the past 6 months. If any involve deception, we will make it right with refunds, repairs, whatever it takes. There will also be a new training program focusing on ethical sales practices. Anyone who refuses to comply will be let go. Murmurs rippled through the room. Calvin continued. Some may think this will hurt numbers in the short term, but trust is worth more than a quick sale. Our dealership will be recognized for honesty and integrity. I want every one of you to know that if you face pressure to lie, you come directly to me. He then turned his gaze toward the manager. You're responsible for implementing these changes. I will be watching closely. If there's any sign of resistance or negligence, we'll have a very different conversation. The manager's jaw tightened, but he nodded in acquiescence. Calvin exhaled slowly, then made his way toward the employees. As he passed among them, some exchanged whispered looks, while others resumed their work, their energy altered by the gravity of the moment. Approaching Sarah once more, he caught her eye. In that brief look, she conveyed a hopeful determination. Calvin offered a small, steady nod in return. Later, after overseeing the adjusted atmosphere on the showroom floor, Calvin returned to the manager's office. The manager had begun reviewing the deals as instructed and admitted to uncovering several questionable contracts. Instances where customers had been told they were getting certified pre-owned vehicles without proper inspections, warranties, misrepresented, and financing terms altered at the last minute. Calvin's jaw tightened with each revelation. How many of these issues do you think there are? Calvin asked sharply. The manager hesitated before replying, I'm still reviewing, but it's significant. Calvin folded his arms. Then we fix every single one. Reach out to the affected customers, offer refunds, repairs, whatever is necessary. The cost of doing nothing is far worse. The manager rubbed his temples. That will cost us, Calvin interrupted firmly. The cost of dishonesty is far greater. Tell me, are you willing to change, or will you just follow the old ways because it's easy? After a long pause, the manager finally sighed. I won't lie. This dealership has operated under these methods for years. Even before my arrival, it's deeply ingrained. Calvin shook his head. I don't expect perfection overnight. I expect honest effort. You'll get there, but only if you truly commit. He picked up a folder from the desk. Keep working on this review, and I want daily updates. I expect a complete turnaround. The manager nodded reluctantly, and Calvan left the office. Outside, by the showroom exit, Trevor was speaking in hushed tones with another salesman. When Trevor noticed Calvin watching, he quickly moved toward the door. Calvin stepped outside after him. "Trevor," Calvin said firmly as he approached, "I assume you're not here to wish me luck?" Trevor shrugged. "I've got options, other dealerships that don't mind aggressive sales tactics." Calvin's expression remained unreadable. "So you'd rather walk away than change?" Trevor exhaled sharply. "Look, I get what you're trying to do, but you're making a mistake. Customers want the illusion of a deal, even if it isn't real." Calvin's tone was ice cold. "That's no excuse for lying." Trevor tilted his head slightly. "It's just how bad business works," he murmured. Calvan shook his head. "No, it's how terrible business works." Trevor exhaled again. "I could stay and pretend to change, go through your training, but we both know I wouldn't mean it. And you'd just be waiting for me to mess up." Calvin did not dispute the words. Trevor glanced back at the dealership as he prepared to leave. "I'll be out by the end of the day," Trevor said. Calvan watched Trevor get into his car and drive off without protest. He wasn't surprised. Some people never change, and the dealership would be better off without them. Stepping back inside, Calvin noticed Sarah at the reception desk. She met his gaze with a look that seemed to say, "Now it begins." Calvin smiled slightly. "Let's build something better," he murmured. For the rest of the afternoon, Calvin stayed on the showroom floor, silently observing the shifts in behavior. Some employees moved hesitantly, glancing his way before resuming their work. Others cautiously approached customers with new earnestness. By late afternoon, as Calvin reconvened with the manager in his office, it was clear that several of the dubious deals had been flagged. Calvin closed the door behind him. "Have you started reviewing the deals I asked for?" The manager, visibly nervous but determined, cleared his throat. "Yes, I've found a few questionable contracts already." Calvin's jaw tightened as he flipped through a folder. This one, where a customer was told they'd receive a certified pre-owned vehicle without a completed inspection, is utterly unacceptable. And look at this misrepresented warranty and that modified financing deal. How many more do you think there are? The manager hesitated. "I fear quite a few." Calvin's eyes narrowed. "Then we fix every single one, reach out to every affected customer, and make it right. Refunds, repairs, whatever is necessary. The alternative is far too costly." The manager nodded slowly. "Understood, Mr. Carter." Calvin leaned forward. "I need to know one thing. Are you truly willing to change, or will you continue turning a blind eye? Because it's easier." After a long silence, the manager admitted, "I can't promise a perfect turnaround overnight, but I'm willing to try." Calvin folded his arms and then picked up the folder. "Good. Keep me updated daily. I expect to see progress." Satisfied for now, Calvin exited the office, this time striding confidently back onto the showroom floor. Employees paused and looked up, conversations halting as he addressed them. "I know some of you have wondered about my presence here today," he began, his voice measured and authoritative. "Now you know I'm not just here to observe. I'm here because I'm committed to ensuring this dealership is known for honesty and integrity. The deceptive tactics and pressure sales must end now." He surveyed the room. "From this moment on, there will be no more lies, no more misrepresented warranties, and no more aggressive pressure tactics. If you cannot sell honestly, then you cannot sell here." A hush fell over the room as Calvin's words sank in. I built this business with my father, and it bears my name. I will not let it be tarnished by dishonesty. I am instituting a complete review of every deal closed over the past 6 months, and any customer wronged will be made whole. Additionally, every employee will undergo a new, rigorous training program on ethical sales practices. Those who refuse to adhere to these standards will be let go. Some employees exchanged relieved glances, while others looked uncertain. Calvin continued, I'm not expecting immediate perfection, but I do expect a sustained effort. If you see something wrong, if anyone attempts to pressure you into silence, come directly to me. He glanced deliberately at a few faces. I am watching closely. This dealership will be known for doing business the right way from now on. A murmur of mixed reactions swept through the room, some nods, some uneasy silence. But one thing was clear. Things would never be the same again. Later, as the day drew to a close, Sarah approached him. I think what you're doing is right, she said softly, her expression resolute. Calvin nodded, and with a small smile replied, I built this business on trust, and I need people like you to help rebuild it from within. As Sarah disappeared back into the showroom, Calvin surveyed the floor with a newfound determination. Some employees continued their work cautiously. Others exchanged whispered conversations about the changes. The energy in the room had shifted from one of complacency and secrecy to one brimming with uncertain hope and the promise of honesty. Standing amidst it all, Calvin Carter knew that the road ahead would be challenging. Resistance was inevitable, and some would leave while others might fight change. But he also understood that reestablishing trust and integrity was essential. With his presence unmistakable and his resolve unyielding, he vowed, underhanded sales tactics will never again define this dealership. And so, as the evening light softened the showroom's glare, Calvin continued to walk the floor, a silent guardian, ensuring that the legacy he inherited was transformed into something truly worthy of pride.